Today we're going to be talking about building an online marketing plan. I'm going to do my best to get through everything. So basically we're going to be talking about the intersection of marketing and strategy and how those two meet together and come up with some sort of a plan that you can start to work on in your business. First of all, I'm going to make two quick assumptions, and we know what happens when you make assumptions, right? Something like this. First of all, you have a website, and this is not your website. Hopefully this is not the one. If you have a website, we can continue. The next thing is that you want more customers. Does anybody fall into that boat at all? Okay, one. Okay, good. One. All right, rest of this is for you, Glenda. So if you have those two pieces in place, then we can come up with some sort of plan, and then we can go to Florida with Scott and be the Monopoly man when we get there, right? That'd be awesome. So number one, define your target market. This is pretty important because if you don't know who you're talking to, or my business applies to everybody, well, that's never the case. You really need to find out who your target market is. Take some time to hone that down the best that you can. And we've talked in the past about building personas. I really think this is very important. To build a couple different people that fall into certain categories related to your business. And then you're able to speak to those people a lot better. So, you can always give them names. I think when we talked about it before, we talked about giving them names. So we've got Nigel and Omar and Sally here, and each one of those fall into a different thing, but they're all three interested in your business. Now, on the E4E website, there's actually a video that Steve did with Caesar Keller about building personas. I definitely encourage you to check that out. It's on e4ecommunity.com. Definitely worth checking into. So number two, create relevant content. It's definitely important that everything is relevant, and by that I mean relevant to the personas that you've created. So just because you want to go talk about something, this guy wants to talk about all kinds of stuff. The customer is only interested in a little bit, so what you need to find out is what are those things that you need to talk about, and then create content that speaks directly to those people. Okay? So basically there's four kinds or types of content. First of all, you can write stuff. This is probably the most common. You can blog, or you can create articles. You can create some sort of text. You can also do video. Video is definitely gaining in popularity. It's easy to consume. And, each one of these, you're grabbing a different segment of the personas that maybe I don't like reading. I don't like reading stuff, but I like watching videos. So that just resonates better to me. You can also do audio. Podcasts are definitely trending upward, and it's a terrific way to reach yet another audience that maybe is driving to their next meeting or next conference, or they're on the way to the office or something. People can listen to your content and consume your content in an audio format, which is terrific. And then there's images. The best way to say that is like an infographic. Anybody heard of infographics? These great pieces of images, of content that have all kinds of pictures in them, and they explain different things related to whatever the topic is. Terrific way to create content. Most common, obviously, is the writing content through a blog. So number three, promote your content. Okay, so you wrote something or you created a piece of content. We need to put it out there for people to consume, right? So once again, we talked about personas earlier. You really need to reach people where they're at. So, I mentioned some people want to listen to audio. Some people want to watch video. So when you're going back to your personas, that needs to be part of creating that, is where do these people typically consume this content so that you can create it in that particular format. So the same thing goes for social media. With Karen would definitely agree with this, that there's a different crowd on Twitter than there is on Facebook, than there is on LinkedIn, than there is on Pinterest. So you need to figure out where those people hang out and then put your content in those particular places as well on the social side. Right, Karen? Okay. Next, match the personas to your ad campaign. So if you decide, okay, I built a piece of content, I really want to reach this particular kind of market, then especially with Facebook ads, you can be very specific in who you show your ads to, down to do they eat peanut butter sandwiches? Do they go biking? Do they do triathlons? What are their age groups? Are they male or female? You can really show your ads to a very specific market. So target your ad or match that to whoever that person is. You're going to resonate better with them, and there's no sense in building a piece of content and blasting it out to everybody, because most of those people are not going to be interested, or they're going to be interested but not be customers. And we want people to raise their hands and say, hey, I want to be a customer. I want to learn more about what you have to offer. Okay, here's a screenshot of an ad that maybe I'm building for Sally. And you can see that in the interest area, I'm going to target the small people that like the Small Business Administration, Small Business Saturday, and small business in general. I also put down here under job role that I only want to show my ad to corporate executives. So that really kind of shows a little market, or it's a very small market of people that I want to show this particular ad to, or show this piece of content to. So you can be very specific about who you show the different things to. You can also do customized and segmented emails like they do through MarketVolt. Am I getting out of my square? I got to be careful here. Customized and segmented emails. So, not everybody wants to hear your message, and Tom has talked about this many times. You can send customized emails to certain groups of people inside of your email list. Not everybody wants to hear about SEO, but a certain group of those do. A certain group might want to hear about content marketing. So send emails out to those people, say, hey, I've got this great new piece of content you might be interested in, or in a newsletter format. Different newsletters show different articles depending on who those segments are. And Tom could talk a lot more to that. Okay, number 4. We doing okay on time? Good. Tell visitors what to do next. This is probably a big one that a lot of people miss. So you've created a piece of content, you have it out on your website, you need to tell them what to do after they consume it. If people are coming to your website via Google or a Facebook ad or AdWords or however they're coming to your website, when they're there and they're looking for this information and you answer that question for them, if you don't tell them what to do next or give them some sort of action to take, you're just missing a huge opportunity, because you've already answered the question for them. You've provided exactly what they were hoping to find. So not putting some sort of a call to action on your site, and I'm talking about on every page of your site that makes sense. In many cases, this might go right in the middle of the piece of content or at the end of the content. If they made it all the way to the end, they obviously were interested in what you had to say. So give them something to do next, whether it's to download a free white paper on this subject, or sign up for our newsletter. Give them some sort of next step. And I think this is where a lot of people miss the huge opportunity, because I'm writing this content. I think this is really good content. People are coming to the site, but my phone's not ringing, or I'm not building my list. So this is definitely something that you should take some time to build. Here's one that Basecamp. Anybody use Basecamp? It's a project management software. Several people use that. This is one that shows up either as a pop-up on the screen, which for some reason is starting to gain in popularity again. I'm starting to see more pop-ups, or just at the end of their piece of content. It's a terrific little cartoon, and it speaks to the fact that they've helped over 285,000 companies finish more than 2 million projects. Hey, I want to know more about that. I mean, it's nice and simple, but it's a definitely call to action. It's terrific. Here's something in the middle of one of my blogs that I just added, and it's just right in the middle, a little bit over halfway through the blog. If this person is reading this particular content or this article, and it's about blogging. So I have a blogging checklist that you can go download for free. So it makes a perfect fit right in the middle of my content. Hey, if you're interested in this, you might be interested in downloading this checklist. I also put this same call to action at the end of the article as well. Great way to keep that conversation going, or grab that person's email address and start to engage with them a little bit more. Once they click on the, okay, I want your checklist, like I said, get them into your system, give them some sort of an email form or something they can fill out, and start to engage with you. Don't just give them the checklist or whatever the piece of content you're wanting to get them. Go ahead and give them, get an email address from them in exchange so that you can start giving them more content that's segmented and related to whatever that is. So quick summary. Target market, very important. Make sure you know who your target market is, because if you don't and you're trying to speak to everyone, it's not going to work well. There's 4 different kinds of content you can create. There's text, there's video, there's images, and there's audio. Now, in some of those cases, they can actually overlap. So I do a show on my website called Navigate the Rapids. It's a video kind of interview. When that video interview is done, I'll take that and send that video to somebody on Fiverr, and I'll have them transcribe it. So then I can put the transcription on that page. So now I've knocked out video and text on the same piece of content. Then I'll pull the audio out of that and put it up on iTunes as a podcast. So now I've created one piece of content and repurposed it in 3 of the 4 possible methods. I probably could have somebody do an infographic too, but I just don't. But what a terrific way to kind of multi-purpose content or repurpose it. Next, make sure that you promote your content and make sure that you're not promoting it to everybody, that you're being specific about who you send that content to, which goes back to the personas. And then last, don't forget to put a call to action. You really need to have something out there to tell them what the next step is, whether it's to buy something or whether it's to download something or do something so that you can start talking to these people and having conversations. Okay? Questions? Right there.
As far as blogs, do you normally recommend for people to have a separate website for their blog or have a blog on a company website?
Okay, good question. The question is, should I have my blog on a separate website or on the same website? I definitely say have it on your website and on your domain. If you have your blog housed somewhere else, then that other domain is basically getting the credit for that, not you. If you have it on your website, redcanoemedia.com/blog, then all of that content becomes part of the redcanoemedia.com or whatever your domain is. It becomes part of that, the ownership, and the search engines see it that way too. Great question.
A little question for you. For blogging, how often do you suggest someone puts blog posts out?
Okay. Terrific question. So the perfect world answer is every day. Okay, everybody's going to go do that, right? You guys are going to start writing 30 pieces of content a day or a week. Wow. So obviously that's not going to happen. If you could get out 1 piece of content a day or a week or even 2 a month, you're going to start seeing people coming in from that content, and then as you build on it, just kind of snowballs. So if you can create 1 a week, that's terrific. 1 every 2 weeks is great. There's also ways that you can find other writers to write content for you as well that will help you, and you can exchange either money or simply exposure for that value. Tom? Okay, now somebody over here raised their hand next. So.
Will, you mentioned that if you put that content out there, people will come in.
Sure.
And one of the later slides in your presentation, there was some reference to optimizing your content. There's an attraction concept at play there. It's a little bit different than the metaphor of a bullhorn and advertising. You talk
Right.
about, I think somebody in this group used to be in the SEO business.
SEO, yeah, I've heard of that a little bit. So yeah, when you put a piece of content out there, obviously there are things you can do with that content to optimize it so that it does attract people. So there's 2 different ways to do marketing. There's outbound marketing, which is the bullhorn, which is the billboard and the radio and the TV. And then there's inbound marketing, which is creating content that just attracts people because you're answering a question, because you're doing something. And there are ways to optimize that content, that it has the right keywords, that it has certain phrases in it, that it links to other pieces of content on your site. And overall, the longer that somebody comes to your website and stays on your website, Google sees that interaction and will reward you for that by maybe moving you up in the rankings, which will just bring you more traffic, those sort of things. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, well, can you speak to the fact that, at times, if you're putting out good content, contacted by people with other sites wanting to put your material out on their site. What are some of the pitfalls and some of the advantages of that?
Okay. There's two sides to that. If somebody's contacting you and wanting to write for you, that's okay, but you need to be a little specific about, I actually would ask for an article that they've written in the past to see if it's something I even want to continue the conversation about, if it's good content. And then I also want to make sure that it's original, that it's not something that they've already published somewhere else. Google does have something called the duplicate content penalty. So if you put content on your website that's already been published online, it's going to hurt you. The other side of that is people say they contact me and want me to write for them. The same would be true. I would want to give them a specific piece of content that is 100% original. And typically, like I said earlier, the exchange is either money or it's exposure. So it depends on if that website has a lot of traffic on it, then I may not want to get paid for that piece of content because they're going to put my byline at the bottom of it that has a link back to my website, maybe my Twitter handle, things of that sort. So there's two different ways to handle that, okay?
Where would I find a list of local bloggers?
There's a website called Follower Wonk, W-O-N-K, that would be a good place to start. And you can actually just go there and do a search for weight loss blogger or St. Louis blogger or things like that. And it will go through their profiles and things like that and pick out those words. And you can come up with an easy list that way.
What was the first word?
Follower Wonk. Yeah.
We're out of time now. Can we give a round of applause for
Awesome. Thank you.